Um projeto pessoal dentro de uma grande empresa ganha o nome do criador e se torna um exemplo de como estimular os funcionários pode render grandes frutos. A gente vai conversar sobre o assunto com Orkut, nada menos que o inventor do Orkut. Orkut is now 3 years old, and let's recap how the whole thing happened. I mean, you worked for Google. I mean, you've been working for Google since 2002, I think.
That's correct. Huh?
After you finished your PhD at Stanford. So what happens next?
The story of social networks goes a long way, actually. I started working on social networking 6 years ago when I was a student at Stanford. One of the things I noticed was it was really hard to meet people. If you're a freshman, you meet your friends during your freshman year in your freshman dorm, and you hang out with the same set of people the rest of your college life. If you're a grad student, you mostly hang out with people in the same department or the people in your same class. I want to make it really easy for people to meet online, and most of the times to meet friends, through your friends' networks. And that's how I came up with the idea of online social networking. And the first social network I launched was called Club Nexus for Stanford undergraduates. This was in 2001. A year after, I launched a social networking site for Stanford alumni, which was called InCircle. And a year later, I launched Orkut.com when I was working at Google. And my goal with Orkut.com was to launch a more global website where people from all around the world could come together and connect.
And you were from Turkey. You grew up in Germany, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you went to the U.S., to study, and then you ended up staying here and working for Google. In the very beginning, could you imagine Orkut is going to be so successful? I mean, now there are more than 40 million users or something. I mean, could you figure it out?
I knew that it was going to be successful, but I wasn't expecting it to be so successful in Brazil, which is great. And one of the questions I get asked the most is, why is Orkut such a phenomenon in Brazil?
And what's the answer?
I don't think there's one single answer. The success in Brazil is contributed to a combination of factors. One is the Brazilians themselves. They are very friendly, super nice culture, beautiful people. They are really heavy internet users. We had the advantage of being like the first popular social network in Brazil. We hit some connectors in the country where they were the influencers who invited their friends and followed up with them to make sure their friends sign up. So we got this exponential growth in Brazil after like 3 months where we grew up really, really fast. Another big contributing factor was the user interface of Orkut.com. It was like really easy to use. Even with people who didn't speak English, they had no problem accessing and using the website. And finally, nationalism was a big contributor in this success. We have this demographics page on Orkut.com where it tells what percentage of users are in what country. And Brazil wanted to be like #1. They wanted to have like the most number of users, and it became like a competition where everyone was inviting their friends to have them on the website. And actually, the day when they passed US in terms of number of users, it was like a really big celebration. They had like parties in Rio, Sao Paulo, and yeah, this was like the final contributing factor.
In the US, MySpace is pretty. It's a big deal, isn't it? I mean, it's another relationship, a network, another relationship thing. I mean, it's quite popular there, right?
Yeah, MySpace is the most popular social network in US.
Mm-hmm. And in India, I think Orkut is quite popular too, right?
Yeah, we are the most visited website actually, and the #1 social network.
Yeah, but in India, it's a huge population to begin with, and it's like heavy internet users too. They're very keen on technology, so it's easy to understand. What do you think about countries like China and Iran, where you have some the government controls the use of internet? You're not democracies, it's like official democracies. What do you think about it? Because once I got a message from an Orkut user from Iran, and I was amazed. Oh my God, I'm communicated to a person in Iran through Orkut.
Yes. Actually, we are very big in Iran. We are like most popular social network, and we are growing very fast there until the government blocked us. And it was like a very fortunate event. But as you know, in some countries, there is like less freedom of speech, and Orkut.com is an environment where it's all about like self-expression, it's all about sharing, it's all about community, and that gives like a really free environment for people to share ideas.
So getting back to the whole process which led to the creation of Orkut, I think Google stimulates creative initiatives by the employees, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. We have a lot of creative, passionate employees. And one of the ways people use their innovation is through their 20% projects. We have something called a 20% time. If you work at Google, they recommend you to spend 20% of your time in an independent project or something you're passionate about, which doesn't have to be your primary project at Google. Or you could spend your 20% time work on a feature for a different team. A lot of the really successful products at Google came out from 20% projects. One is Google News. It was just like one person who put it together. People really liked it, and now it's like one of the major services. Another one is Orkut.com, which was also a 20% project. And at Google, ideas are everywhere. In a lot of the companies, ideas come from top to bottom, from like management down to engineers. But in Google, it always goes from bottom to up, where engineers have like creative, innovative ideas, and they share it with the top. We have also a lot of mailing lists at the company where people like just distribute, share, and communicate ideas.
So, and how does it work? I mean, as you said, you don't work extra hours to do your personal project, right? You've got this 20% of your schedule, right?
Yeah, it's different for different people. Some people spend 1 day a week, 20%. Okay. Some people don't spend years, and then they take just like 4 months off doing their 20% project.
And do you relate? I mean, you get in touch with do you have a manager or something, or can you like email some director or some big shot at Google to talk about your project? How does it work within the company?
Yes, definitely. You can email your employees, and you can email your boss, or you can email even Lera or Sergey, and they'll take a look at your project and get back to you.
How's daily life at Google? I mean, I think of some kind of Disneyland for geeks, pretty much like Apple or Microsoft. I mean, it's like casual outfits and free snacks, and how does it work?
Google was the first company I worked for after I finished college, and it was almost exactly like being in college. A lot of young people, a lot of energy, a lot of passion, a lot of freedom. People are very casual in their outfits, for instance. If you look at the Google campus, we have a volleyball court. People play volleyball in the middle of the day. We have swimming pools. It's definitely paradise, especially for, as you call them, geeks. And it's just like a great company to work for.
And people from all over the world, I think. I mean, like other companies, I mean, which are becoming very international. I mean, Adidas in Germany, for instance. I mean, there are some companies in the world which are particularly international. I mean, cosmopolitan, right?
Yes, and one of the nice things is we keep our culture as we like spread to like other countries or continents. And if you look at the Google culture, it's all about the user. It's all about giving like the best possible experience for the user. And we keep this culture everywhere and try to spread it.
Mm-hmm. So, and you mentioned a couple of other projects which began, I mean, with 20% things. Mm-hmm. And what about, do you have other examples? I mean, other features? Because now Google has so many, I mean, services. I mean, it provides so many things. I mean, other things which came from employees. I mean, do you remember other examples?
Like Google News is like a really big one. Orkut.com is a big one. And then there are a lot of like features that were like implemented by engineers who contributed like 20%.